sadhu, sadhu. Let's pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends, thank you for coming first of all. So my name is Bhante Mahindavijaya. I'm from Sri Lanka. So I arrived in KL a couple of days ago. So I hope to conduct this program and I'm hoping to teach you an ancient method to do Anāpānasati meditation and walking meditation. So mainly Anāpānasati, breathing meditation. So this method is mentioned in a book called Paṭisamභida Magga. Have you ever heard of that book? It is a part of Kuddaka in the Sutta in the Pali Canon. So it's a very ancient book which was preserved for thousands of years. And this was the method that the Buddha used to achieve enlightenment. So, to give you an introduction, I would like to take a sutta, which is quite interesting actually. So, at the time of the Buddha, there was a Brahmin named Bāvari. Okay. So this Brahmin was very old. He was 120 years old. And he had hundreds of students, of which 16 students were kind of the leaders in the community, and they were also teaching meditation to the other students. Right? They were not the followers of the Buddha, but they were practicing their own way to achieve purification. So one day, this Brahmin named Bāvari heard that the Buddha has appeared in the world. And since he was very old, he didn't have the strength to go and meet the Buddha. So he called upon these 16 students of his and told that there is a great person living in Savatthi. You have to go and meet him. He knows the way to escape from suffering. He knows the way to be free from delusion. So these 16 students, Brahmin students, went in search of the Buddha, okay, with the other students. So each of these 16 students had their own group of students which they instructed and helped to achieve develop meditation. So these Brahmins, all of them were Brahmins, and they went and met the Buddha. So each of these 16 Brahmins asked a question in verses, okay, and the Buddha replied in verses. So these verses were they have so much wisdom in them. These questions were so enlightening. And when these Brahmins asked the question and when the Buddha answered, all of them became arahants. Okay? Just by listening to that teaching, all of them became arahants. So there was one student named Tissametteya. Okay? He asked one verse, and the Buddha replied. The reply was also one verse. And after the teaching, Tissametteya became an arahant. So I'm taking that verse to give you the introduction. So the question he asked was, who here in the world is content? So who is content or completely satisfied? who has no disturbances. We have all the sorts of disturbances, right? When we try to meditate, our mind wanders all around the place. But he's asking who has no disturbances. And he asks, what thoughtful one, having known both ends, okay, having known both ends. So he has figured out that there are two ends, there are two extremes. So he has understood by himself, or with the help of his teacher Bhagavad, that there are these extremes and we should not go into these extremes. So he asked this question, having known both ends, who is not stuck in the middle? So look at this question. He's asking, having known both ends, both extremes, who is not stuck in the middle? And then he asks, why or who do they say is a great man who here has escaped the stitching? Stitching. So what is the stitching? The stitching is when you take two pieces of fabric and when you combine them with the stitching, the two pieces of clothes become one cloth, right? So because of that stitching, the two fabrics are attached. So the two ends are attached with the stitching. So he's asking, who has escaped this stitching? Now when we hear this question, we become confused. We don't know what are the two ends, what is the middle, what is the stitching. We have no clue. But this person was so wise and he knew what he was asking. And the Buddha gave the answer. He said, leading the spiritual life among sensual pleasures. So there are all these sensual pleasures in this world which we get attached to. But if somebody lives a spiritual life without getting attached to these sensual pleasures, rid of craving, ever mindful. So that person has to be free from craving and he has to be mindful. A monk who through wisdom is quenched. So this person is the one who is content, who is satisfied. Through wisdom, he has quenched. He has been free from craving. He is completely satisfied through wisdom. That's who has no disturbances. That person does not have any disturbances. No matter how many or how much sensual pleasures there are in this world, he is not attached to it. He is not disturbed by anything. And he is quenched. That thoughtful one, having known both ends, so that person has known both ends and he is not stuck in the middle. Why? Because he is mindful and he has wisdom and he is free from craving. He is a great man, I declare. He has escaped the stitching here. In this life, he has escaped the stitching. So this was the answer. But when we hear this answer, it's very difficult for us to understand what does the Buddha mean by the two ends, or what is the middle, what is the stitching. We have these questions. But this Samanthaya was so wise, and he became an Arahant straight away. Right? So this sutta became so popular among the Sangha, and they were discussing what did the Buddha mean by the two ends, what is the middle, how can one not stick to the middle, how can you escape from the middle? So the monks were discussing, right? So one day, when the Buddha was living in Varanasi, in the deer park of Isipatana, there were some monks, some senior monks actually. They got together and they were discussing this sutta. So they asked each other. The Buddha said in this Samanthaya Sutta The thoughtful one, having known both ends, is not stuck in the middle. He is a great man, I declare. He has escaped the stitching here. What is the first end? What is the second end? What is the middle? And what is the stitching? And they were questioning each other, right? So one monk said, okay, this is how I understand this teaching. He said, past is one end. The future is the second end. Okay? The present is the middle. And craving is the stitching. And when a person understands this, he understands this wisdom and he becomes an arhat. He becomes free from craving. So one monk described the sutta like that. Right? So he said, the past is one end, the future is the second end, the present is the middle. So what happens to normal people is that we get stuck in the past. Right? We have experiences which we had in the past, and these memories come into our mind, and our mind wanders with all these thoughts. So we are stuck in the middle, and we have future plans. We have a lot of plans what we are going to do tomorrow or the next year. So, and we are stuck in the future, and people don't realize what's going on in the present moment, right? And the future and present are attached with craving. We are attached to the past, we are attached to the future. We have no idea what's going on in the present moment. So we lose the opportunity to practice this good Dharma and be free from our defilements, our problems. Right? So one monk explained it this way. There was another monk, he said, this is how I understand this sutta. He said, pleasant feeling is one end and painful feeling is the other end. Neutral feeling is the middle. Craving is the stitching. If a monk directly knows this, he will be able to end suffering and end craving and achieve enlightenment. So he described this sutta in a different way. Right? He said, pleasant feeling is one end, painful feeling is the other end, neutral feeling is the middle. Craving is the stitching. But everybody says craving is the stitching. Right? So that is also reasonable, right? With pleasure, we get attached. When we experience pain, we become angry. So we don't understand the neutral feeling. We are not able to stay without being attached to the pleasant feeling and without getting angry when we experience pain. We cannot be neutral. That's why we have to suffer all the time. So whenever we experience pleasure, we want to be in that pleasure for a longer time. Right? We have craving. And when we experience pain, we don't want that. We crave for the pleasant feeling. So craving will attach this pleasant experience and the painful experience, and we are not able to realize the way to be neutral and stay without being attached. So this explanation is also reasonable, right? So and there was another monk, and he explained this in a different way. He said, the six interior sense bases is one end. So what are the six interior sense bases? Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Right? These are interior sense bases. We see the world with our eye. We need our eye to see the world. We hear sound with our ear. We smell with our nose. We taste with our tongue. We touch with our body. And we need our mind to think. So these are the things that we get attached to, thinking they are me, mine, and myself. Right? eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. So this is one end. And this monk said, the 6 exterior sense fields are the second end. So what are the 6 exterior sense fields? Forms we see, sounds we hear, smells we experience, and tastes, and touch, and thoughts. Thoughts are also exterior, right? The mind is internal, thoughts are external. This is how the Buddha explained this. So, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind are one end. Forms, sounds, tastes, touch, smell, and thoughts are the other end. And craving and consciousness is the middle. He said, consciousness is the middle. Because just with the eye we cannot see. There has to be eye consciousness. Right? When we are sleeping, if somebody opens our eye, can we see? No, right? Because there is no eye consciousness. When somebody speaks, we cannot hear, even though we have our ear. Right? It's because ear consciousness is not there when we are speaking. So, interior sense bases are one end, exterior sense fields are the other end, consciousness is the middle. And the teaching is craving. And this monk said, if someone realizes this with wisdom, he is free from suffering. So this monk explained this that way. Okay. And there are some other explanations as well. I'm not going to talk about that, but they are kind of subtle. These 3 are enough for our exercise today, the meditation that we are going to do. So if you think about this, 3 monks gave 3 different answers. So all of them, actually there are 6 answers, right? I only took 3. So these monks, they went to the Buddha because they wanted to know what the Buddha meant. So when they went to the Buddha said, monks, you have all spoken well, in a way. That means all these answers are correct in their own perspective. He didn't say, some of you are wrong, some of you are correct. He didn't say like that. He said, all of you are correct. In a way, in their own perspective, they are correct. Right? And Buddha said, I was referring to a different way of explaining. The Buddha said, contact is one end, the origin of contact is the second end, the cessation of contact is the middle, craving is the stitching. And if someone realizes this, they will be free from suffering. Contact means eye, forms, and eye consciousness. These 3 get together. Without these 3 getting together, we cannot experience anything. So eye and forms and eye consciousness, these 3 have to combine. They have to contact. Okay? And ear, sounds, and ear consciousness have to contact. If not, we cannot hear. So nose, smells, and nose consciousness have to contact. So there are 6 types of contact: eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. So contact is one end, the origin of contact is the other end, and cessation of contact is the middle. Craving is the stitching. If somebody realizes this, they become free from suffering. So this was the Buddha's answer. But he said, all these answers are correct. Okay? So that is the sutta I wanted to to bring, to introduce this meditation technique. So, what we can understand is there are extremes. Okay? We should not fall into these extremes when we are practicing the Dharma. So, we can get the first three answers because they are easy to understand. So, past is one end, future is the other end. In this meditation technique, we should not be lost in the past. We might have experiences in the past that might come to our mind, but we have to give them up. We have to completely forget about the past. And we might have plans, things that we are going to do in the future, but we don't want these plans when we are meditating. We have to come to the present moment. Okay? And there is craving which we have to go beyond. That is not easy. But we have to understand that first we have to come to the middle, and then there is another thing that we have to achieve someday to achieve enlightenment. That is, we should not be stuck in the middle. Okay? We are stuck in the middle because of craving. So first we have to abandon the two ends. That is the important part. That is the first step. We have to give up the two ends. So when we are meditating, we have to give up the past and the future. And we have to come to the present. That is one way of doing that. And also, pleasure is one end, pain is the other end. We might be experiencing happiness or pleasure in this world, maybe because of our friends or family or anything. We might be experiencing a happy feeling. But that is one end. We have to give that up. And we might be also experiencing pain for some reason. Okay? That is also another end. We have to give that up as well. We have to come to the neutral state when we are meditating. So giving up the two ends is so important in this meditation practice. Okay? So past and future are two ends, we have to give them up. Pleasure and pain are two ends, we have to give them up. And the inner sense bases, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind, these are one end. We take them as me, mine and myself. And we become proud of ourselves, so we become sad about ourselves. So we get all the feelings of self with these sense bases. That also we have to give up. And also we get distracted with the external sense fields. We get distracted with things we see, things we hear, things we smell. That is one end. We have to give that up. So we have to give up the attachment we have towards ourselves, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Also, we have to give up the attachment we have for these external things in the world. Right? So these ends have to be given up, and we have to come to the middle. So when we are doing breathing meditation, it is very important to give these ends up and focus on our breath. So breathing meditation, if we do it the right way, we do not fall into any of these ends. Because the breath, when it goes out, it goes through our nostrils. And few seconds later that we take an in-breath, right? So always we are focusing something that is going on in the present moment. We don't go into the past or the future. And also, we give up pain and pleasure. And we can become neutral when we are focusing on our breath. And also, the breath, we don't want to take the breath as me, mine, or myself, because that breath goes out, right? It goes out and it mixed up with the air. We don't want to call that me, mine, or myself. And when we take the breath inwards, that goes into our lungs. So we don't want to get attached to the external world. because that breath, that air goes into our lungs, it goes back and forth, right? So we don't want, when we are focusing on our breath, we do not get attached to ourselves, also we don't get attached to the external world. So this is an excellent way to be in the middle. This is actually the middle way. We can be in the middle without going to any of these extremes. So this is the first step. So when we learn Anāpānasati meditation, the breathing meditation, the Buddha said, Aranya Gatova, Mukhamula Gatova, Sunyagara Gatova. We have to go to a forest, or we can sit under a tree, or we can sit in a quiet place. So this is a quiet place, the Sunyagara, quiet place, right? Nice place, comfortable place for us to meditate. So that is something we have to do. And the Buddha said, Nisidati Pallankam Abhujitva. You have to sit cross-legged. He specifically said, when you are meditating, when you are doing the breathing meditation, you have to sit cross-legged. Nisidati Pallankam Abhujitva. Ujunkayam Panidaya. You have to keep your back straight. These are the Buddha's instructions. Sit cross-legged, keep your back straight. And so sato assa sati, sato passa sati. You breathe in mindfully, breathe out mindfully. What is the meaning? You should not go into any of the extremes. You should focus on your breath and be in the middle. That is the meaning of being mindful. Okay? So we breathe in mindfully, we breathe out mindfully, and we stay in the middle. We do not go into any of the extremes, past or future, pain or pleasure, or ourselves, or the external world. We don't go into any of the extremes, we stay in the middle when we do the breathing meditation. So once we can achieve that, and once we can breathe in and out mindfully, the Buddha said, Dīgam va assasanto, dīgam assasamiti pajanati. When you breathe in, when you take a long breath, you have to understand you are taking a long breath. When you are breathing out, if it is a long breath, you have to understand you are breathing out a long breath. Rasam va assasanto, rasam assasamiti pajanati. If when you are breathing in, if it is a short breath, you understand it is a short breath. If you are breathing out a short breath, you understand it is a short breath. So when you are focusing on your breath, you understand whether it's a long breath or a short breath. Okay. So this is the first step of this meditation. So the book I mentioned, it gives a beautiful simile. Okay. So I was referring to the Satipatthana Sutta, which is in a different book called Nikaya. In that sutta, the Buddha used one simile. In the book I mentioned, he used another simile. Right? These two similes are important. So I will explain the first simile. So there is a carpenter. So he has this tool to flatten a plank of wood, a piece of wood. So he uses this tool, and sometimes he will push very short, like that. Sometimes he will take a long push on that tool to make the wood flat. Right? You know that tool, right? I don't know the name what you call that. But it's this tool that the carpenters use to make the piece of wood flat. So just like that, when you are breathing a short breath, you'll understand it is a short breath. If it is a long breath, like the carpenter pushes the tool back and forth in long pushes, if you're breathing long breaths in and out, you'll understand they are long breaths. So this is one simile. The other simile is, which is mentioned in this book, is that when a carpenter is cutting a piece of wood with a saw, right? He's cutting this piece of wood, and you have all the teeth in the saw, right? In that simile, he said, when the carpenter is cutting this piece of wood, he does not know how many teeth went forward, how many teeth went backwards. He is only focusing on the place where he is touching the wood, right? He is looking at the place where the saw touches he does not focus how many teeth went that way or how many teeth went that way. Just like that, when we are doing this breathing meditation, we should have our focus right here in our nostrils, right? We don't follow the breath in, and we don't try to follow this air going into our lungs, and then this air coming out and going out of our nose. We don't follow the air. We only keep our focus right here. Okay? And when this air goes in, we can understand it's going in. When the air goes out, we can understand this is an out breath. Just like that carpenter, when he's pushing back and forth this saw, he knows that he's cutting this piece of wood. He knows this is going forward and backwards, but he does not know how many teeth went that way or how many teeth went that way. So just like that, we are not following the flow of air. We are only looking at this place with our mind, and we try to figure out whether it is an in-breath or an out-breath. So our focus is always right here, okay, in front of our face, right here, our nostrils. Okay. So this simile is important. And also, when you're breathing, let's say you're breathing out, you have to understand the beginning, middle, and end. Adi Madhya Pariyosana. That means the beginning of the breath, the middle of the breath, and the ending of the breath. When you're breathing in, you have to understand when you start breathing in, the beginning, middle, and the end. When you're breathing out, the beginning, middle, and the end. You have to keep that in your mind. That level of focus is important for this meditation. Right? So now we will try to do this meditation. You just have to think in breath, out breath. In breath, out breath. Keeping what we learned in our mind. We do not go into any of these extremes, past or future, the external world or the internal sense bases or pleasure or pain. We don't go into any of these extremes. We keep our focus right here on our nostrils. And when it is an in-breath, we understand in-breath. When it is out-breath, we know it is an out-breath. And we have to keep our mind. We have to focus and understand whether when we are breathing, the beginning, middle, and end of all breaths, right? Also, if it is a long breath, we understand it is a long breath. If it is a short breath, we understand it is a short breath. Okay? Having this in mind, we will try to focus on our breath for 20 minutes. So, when you are meditating, if you experience your mind going to the past or the future or some memory, you have to understand that the mind is not in the middle. We lost track and we went to an extreme. So then we have to be mindful to bring our mind back to the middle, to to breath. Whenever our mind wanders, we have to, just like a dog. If you are holding a dog with a chain, if it try to walk away, we have to pull that towards us. Just like that, our mind is not tamed. Our mind is not tamed. It wanders all around the place. So when it goes to the past, we have to bring it back to the in-breath, out-breath, which is the present moment. If it goes to an external memory or something here or something you see, that is an extreme. We have to bring it back to the middle. So we have to keep on doing that again and again until our mind is tamed and trained to be in the middle. Okay, so this is the training we have to develop. So now we will move on to another meditation, which is the walking meditation, which goes hand in hand with Anāpānasati, breathing meditation. Because so when we are practicing the breathing meditation, our mind, after some time, our mind will feel a bit bored when trying to focus on the breath. Right? So it's good to change and do the walking meditation a little bit, and we can gain the same thing with the walking meditation, because when the Buddha said in the Satipatthana Sutta, Gaccanto va gacchami iti pajanati. When you are walking, you have to understand that you are walking. Tito va tito mihi pajanati. When you are standing, you have to understand you are standing. Nisinno va nisinno mihi pajanati. When you are sitting, you have to understand that you are sitting. So all the time, our mindfulness will be with our posture. Okay? When we are walking, we understand that we are walking. We can, just like in breathing meditation, we can be in the middle when we are doing the walking meditation. Our mind will not go to the past or the future or an external object or an internal sense base to a pleasure feeling or a painful feeling. We can be in a neutral state and be focusing on our posture. Okay? So when you are walking, if you understand that you are walking, our mind is in the middle. Right? So we can switch from walking meditation to the breathing meditation, and then breathing meditation to the walking meditation. And we can continue this meditation practice for a long time, for a couple of hours, okay, without getting bored. So now in this walking meditation, this is called Viriyapada, being mindful of our posture. So the correct way to do is that we can, after we finish breathing meditation, after 20 minutes, we can focus on our sitting posture. We can think we are sitting. We are in this sitting posture. And then we can stand. Mindfully stand. Realizing that we are standing. And then we can slowly start walking back and forth. We are walking. And when we stop, we can stand for a little while, thinking we are standing. And we can turn, realizing that we are turning. And then we can start walking again. Like that, we can do walking meditation for some time. And then come back to our meditation seat, being mindful. We are now standing, And we can sit on this rotated cushion and understand that we are sitting, we are sitting, we are sitting. And then we can slowly move on to the breath, the breathing meditation. Right? So all the time, our mindfulness either will be with our breath or with our posture. So always our mind will be in the middle. So we can keep our mind in the middle for a long period of time. Right? So now we will do walking meditation. So some people think it is good to break the step into three steps. We can we can lift our foot, thinking we lift, we take our foot forward, and we keep our step on the floor. Lift, forward, step. Lift, forward, step. Lift, forward, step. Like that. Okay? So it is easy when you break it into three steps, it can become easy. If you're very good at it, you can just think you're walking. But if you break it into three steps, it becomes easy. So now we will try to do walking meditation. We can use the space and move these chairs a little bit and create some space for you. So I'll be walking back and forth right here. So you can take this space, that space, go there. Okay? We will walk for 20 minutes. Sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so when we are doing walking meditation, if our mind goes to the past or the future, or to an external object, or to ourself, we have to understand that our mind is not in the middle. So we need to get that back, or pull our mind back to the middle. So this training has to be developed, because without coming into the middle, we cannot be free from the stitching. The stitching is craving. Right? So all the ends are connected together with this stitching, this craving. So craving is the cause of suffering. So we know that the Buddha explained the Four Noble Truths. The main problem is this whole mass of suffering. So when we are born in a world, either the human world or heavenly world or the animal world, whatever world when we are born in, we have to experience old age, sickness, and death. And when we die, if you are not free from suffering, you will be reborn in another world according to our own actions. If we have done good actions, as a result of these good karma, we will be born in a good world, good place, good realm. If you have done unwholesome deeds, you will be born in a bad destination. So this cycle of rebirth is there, and which is called suffering. This is the main problem that the Buddha wanted to find a solution to. And the Buddha found out the cause for this suffering is craving. So in order to be free from craving, we have to abandon the ends, the extremes, and come to the middle, and then realize with wisdom, develop wisdom and mindfulness to get rid of, to eradicate craving. So without coming to the middle, we cannot do that. So the first step of coming into this path is to abandon the ends, extremes, and come into the middle. So this is what we are trying to practice. this meditation method. So we will do breathing meditation again. So we can have another walking meditation session after this. So do you have anything to get clarified before we start the breathing meditation? Do you have any questions regarding what we did so far?
What's the speed of the
walking? There is no, it depends on you actually. If you are comfortable with walking with some speed, it's okay. So it's usually, if you're walking slow, it is easy to be mindful. Because when you're walking fast, it's difficult to concentrate and focus, right? Because it's like you will become a little bit uneasy when you're walking fast. So it's good to walk slow, but it doesn't have to be very slow, moderate speed. But the speed depends on the person. So there is no fixed speed. Okay, another thing I want to do is
towards the end, the reading and the walking the steps synchronizes. Is that?
No, we have to do breathing meditation while sitting. We should not do breathing meditation while walking. Because the Buddha specifically said, when you are doing the breathing meditation, you have to sit cross-legged. Aranyagato va, ukkamulagato va, sunyagāragato va, nisidati pallankam ābhujitva, ujumkāyam panidāya, parimkam satim upattavetva, so sato asasati, sato asasati. These are the words of the Buddha. You go to a forest or you sit under a tree, or you go to a quiet place, and pallankam, nisidati pallankam ābhujitva, sit down cross-legged. Ujukaya Panidaya, keep your back straight. Parimukam Upattaveta, get your focus in front of your face, right here. And then mindfully breathe in, mindfully breathe out. So breathing meditation should only be done while sitting. Walking meditation is different. You have to focus on your posture, not the breath. Yes.
As you breathe through your nose, or can you breathe in through your nose and out from the mouth?
It's better to breathe only through your nose. Because the Buddha said, so in the Pali when he explained Anāpānasati, he said, the focus has to be under your nostrils. So that means you have to breathe through our nose. But sometimes when you are breathing, you can breathe a little bit with force sometimes. That's totally okay. That's okay. Because some people think it is not good to, you have to let your body breathe without putting force. That's actually not 100% correct, because sometimes we need to breathe. Sometimes like half of the breath will be natural, and sometimes we might add a little bit force to our breath, right? It's okay. What we have to do is to be mindful of the breath. We have to understand whether it's an in-breath or an out-breath. So like when you are walking, we do it intentionally, right? When we are walking, we do it intentionally. Sometimes we breathe intentionally. Also, we breathe unintentionally. So whatever way we are breathing, it's okay. Both ways are okay. You just have to understand whether you're breathing in or breathing out. If it is a long breath, you understand it's a long breath. If it is a short breath, you understand it's a short breath. And the focus has to be throughout the beginning, middle, and end of each breath. So if mindfulness is developed like that, we can stay in the middle without going to an extreme for a long time. That is so peaceful. So if we can practice that, we can be in a chaotic world with a lot of problems. but we can stay peaceful without being affected by the external world. So if we can develop that, that's such an amazing spiritual development. Okay? And that will help us to be happy, to live happily, without falling into all these problems in the world. We can deal with problems without being affected. Okay? So Arahants were the ones who perfected this. They developed this meditation and they completely get rid of craving. So without coming to the middle, you cannot get rid of craving. Because we always go into an extreme and we suffer. If you come into the middle, there is a possibility, there is a potential for wise people to reduce our greed, hatred, and delusion and get rid of craving. Right? So that is what we want to do, that is the Buddha's advice. So in order to escape from suffering, the root cause of suffering is craving, and that has to be eradicated. And cessation of suffering is nirvana. Nirvana means the ending of craving. It has to be achieved. In order to achieve nibbana, noble eightfold path has to be developed. Okay? So understanding the extremes and coming to the middle is samadhi, right view. Okay? So we need to learn this philosophy as well. Without learning the philosophy, it's difficult to practice, isn't it?
The beginning, middle, and end is in the beginning of breathing,
Yes.
and then after that, the pause and the out breath. Or the beginning from the breath, in breath, the middle, and then the end of the in breath, and beginning and middle and out at end of the out breath.
Yeah. So when you breathe, let's say you're breathing in. When the breath starts, that is the beginning. It goes on, that is the middle, and that in breath stops at some point. That is the end.
So that's the in breath that stretch. The beginning, middle, and of the in breath.
In breath, and also when you're breathing out, beginning of the out breath, middle of the out breath, and the end of the out breath. So there's a little pause in between the two breaths, right? That's okay. Beginning of the in breath, middle of the in breath, end of the in breath. And there's a pause. And then the breath comes out. Beginning of the out breath, middle of the out breath, end of the out breath. And there's a pause. Like that.
How about that following the same question, like on the beginning, the middle, and the end of it? Just now Bhante explained about the symbol of the soul, when we don't follow the flow of the air. So how do we actually observe the beginning, middle, and at the same time not following the air?
So when that carpenter pushes the saw forward, while looking at the place where the saw touches the wood, you know that the movement starts. And then it goes forward. He knows that it's going forward. And when it stops, he knows it stopped. It has stopped. But he doesn't know how many teeth went forward, right? And when you bring that to the other side, when you pull out, you know it starts, and then it moves on, and then it stops. But you don't have to follow the teeth to figure that out. Just like that, when you focus on your nostrils, when the breath is going in, you don't have to follow the breath until it goes to your lungs. You don't have to follow the wind or the air until it goes out to the atmosphere. You just focus here. When you're breathing in, you know the breath has started. It goes in, and comes to the middle, and then goes in, ends. And after a little pause, it comes out, starts coming out. Starts, comes to the middle, and then the breath ends. So you can focus right here and observe all three parts of the breath without following the flow of air. Just keep your focus right here.
But thank you very much for the new insights. All along, I
knew that Anāpānasati is actually the most basic meditation and is what Buddha practiced. I was just contented with learning Anāpānasati the basic because meditation is not easy. So I found out that in order to Vipassana should be another one, that it should be another level. And I actually just be content with Anāpānasati until the end of my life to learn about this basic, but I don't intend to learn the other parts. But it seems that Vipassana is part of Anāpānasati, is a natural progression from. And then also another thing, is it really very essential to achieve nimitta before you go on to Vipassana, or is it just normal Anāpānasati without nimitta is good enough?
So you cannot completely separate Vipassana and Samatha, right? You just have to develop mindfulness according to the Satipatthana Sutta, right? 4 foundations of mindfulness, have you heard of that? Breathing meditation is one way of doing that. Walking meditation is another way. So there are other ways, right? Vipassana means wisdom. Samatha means calm. So they both goes hand in hand. So when you are developing Anāpānasati, you can develop Vipassana. Okay? You just have to be mindful and understand that this breath is impermanent. So your mind calms down and your wisdom will also develop. Okay? It's not like you do Samatha first for some time, okay, and then you stop Samatha and start doing Vipassana. It's not like that. With breathing meditation alone, you can develop both Samatha and Vipassana. Right? And nimittas, I know that there are meditation techniques that teach you to have nimittas, and then you focus on the nimitta and your mind calms down with that nimittas. That's a different meditation thing, right? I'm actually doing this method as per the Tipitaka, and in the book I mentioned, it doesn't talk about the nimittas. Actually, these nimittas, according to this sutta we learned, that is an extreme, because it is something you see externally, right? We give up focusing on our breath, and we start focusing on the nimittas, and then we try to focus our calm mind with the nimittas. That is a different technique. I'm not going to criticize that. That's a different technique. Maybe that will help. There are people who develop that, but this method is only about we focus only on the breath, right? Not the nimittas. So if we get a nimitta, that can be helpful, because that is like having a light in your mind. So it's like at daytime we don't feel asleep, but when it is dark we fall asleep, right? We become sleepy, because our mind is trained in a way that when it becomes dark, we know it is time to sleep. So when you have a light in your mind, it is helpful because you can stay awake. You won't fall asleep while doing meditation. It can be helpful, having a light in your mind. But that nimitta, focusing on the nimitta, is not the object of the meditation. You have to focus on the breath only. If you don't have a nimitta, then fine, no problem. That is not important. That can be helpful. If you have some light in your mind, that is helpful to be awake, not to fall asleep while doing meditation. But nimitta is not the meditation object. Only the breath is in-breath and out-breath will be the meditation object for this Anāpānasati.
What happens when the breath becomes very faint, not very noticeable?
Yes, so when you develop mindfulness in this meditation, this breath will be very subtle. So you want, a time will come when it is difficult to find whether it is an in-breath or an out-breath. That is because our body has like calmed down and our mind has calmed down. Our breath has become subtle. And our mindfulness is not strong enough to understand the breath. Okay, that happens because our mindfulness is not developed enough to understand whether it's a in-breath or an out-breath. So, when that happens, it is okay to just, even if you cannot recognize whether it's an in-breath or out-breath, you just have to take the memory of the in-breath and think in-breath, out-breath, even though you don't feel it. You just have to keep on thinking in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath. And then suddenly, breath will be noticeable. Okay? Because when the breath disappears, sometimes our mind can stray here and there and go to an extreme. It is because our mindfulness is not strong enough to understand the subtle difference. But when one achieves jhanas, first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and the fourth jhana, when somebody achieves the fourth jhana, the breath will cease. It is completely ceased. It is not that your mindfulness is weak. The breath has really ceased. That is the fourth jhana. But even in that case, in this Patisampitamagga book, it is clearly mentioned that the previous memory you had about the breath will be there as the meditation object. Right? The Buddha gave a simile to that. So you see this metal ball, right? When you hit with this thing, this hammer, you will hear a strong sound, right? Strong ding sound. And after some time, that sound will go down. It's barely noticeable. And then it will cease. But if you pay attention to that, when the sound ceases, since you have the memory of that sound will still be in your head, in your mind. But the sound has actually ceased, but it is still in your mind. Just like that, at fourth jhana, when the breath ceases, that memory will still be in that person's mind, and that will be the meditation object. Okay, so even in fourth jhana, nimittas are not the meditation object. Breath is the meditation object. In breath and out breath, that is the meditation object. Okay, in this method, but there are other meditation techniques which they teach to have nimittas and focus on nimittas. That's different. This method is solely on focusing on the breath. Okay.
When is the most appropriate time to meditate?
It depends on the person. Some people prefer to meditate early in the morning. Some people when it is daytime. Personally, I prefer nighttime.
Full stomach or empty stomach is it?
Difficult to say. When you are full, you might feel sleepy. That I have that problem actually. When you are full, you feel sleepy. For some people, yes. So some people it might not be the case. It depends on the person. So you have to figure out yourself. That's why you need to practice. When you practice, you will understand the way that you more suitable for you, more suitable for you. Yes, go ahead.
With the breathing, right? The in breath, so beginning, nostril, the when out breath, is it we start from the bottom, then to the middle, and then to the tip of the nose? This is opposite.
No.
Inhale.
So when you inhale, okay, in breath, right? Beginning, middle, end. And when it goes out, beginning, middle, end.
And at the tip of nose.
All three parts will be right here.
The beginning will be here, and the middle will be sometimes when we breathe, we feel our chest.
No, you don't focus on the strength. Your focus should always be right here. Forget about your chest or the environment. Just look at right here. Just like that carpenter is looking at the point where the saw touches the wood, right? Only that place. Not the teeth. Not the two ends of the saw. Only the place where it touches the piece of wood. You only focus right here. Tip of your nose. When the air goes out, you understand, okay, the breath started, the beginning, it goes down and comes to the middle, and goes down and comes to the end. When you breathe in, beginning, middle, goes in, and end of the event. Okay? Alright. Yes.
Very often the pain starts in the beginning, along the way.
Pain?
Yeah. So what's the best way to deal with that?
Pain in your back. So that's actually because of your posture. So you have to find out the best posture for you and the best cushion for you. So different people have different problems when it comes to your sitting posture, right? So some people like they to keep their legs like this, and sometimes keep their legs flat. So you have to find out the best way.
Actually, after some time, like 45 minutes or so, it takes attention for me to breath.
Yes.
And for those with medical condition, is it okay to sit on a chair?
Yeah, if there's a medical condition, it's okay. But the Buddha specifically said, Ujunka Nishidati Pallankam Abujita. Pallanka means cross-legged. Okay. Since he uses that word specifically only for breathing meditation. For all other meditations, you can use whatever posture you want. While walking, you can do metta meditation, impermanence meditation, any meditation, right? But breathing meditation is special. He specifically said you have to sit cross-legged. So, if you are comfortable with like sitting for 20 minutes, you can walk and switch to walking meditation like we did today. So you can walk for like some time, and then you can like stretch. Like when you walk, the pain will go away, and then you can start breathing meditation again for like 20 minutes. So you can keep your mindfulness. So when you do the breathing meditation, your mindfulness will be on your breath, and then when you decide to do the walking meditation, you can switch your mindfulness to your sitting posture. Sitting, I'm sitting, I'm sitting. And then you can stand, I'm standing, standing, standing. And then you can start walking. And do that for like 20 minutes. And you can come back to your seat. I'm standing. And then you sit. I'm sitting. And then start breathing meditation again. In breath, out. So you can switch breathing meditation to the walking meditation, back and forth. And do that for like a couple of hours. So that is why in most monasteries they have the meditation seat with the walking path. Even in Sri Lanka, when they make walking paths, they make a meditation seat as well. So both meditations can be done at the same time. Like, you sitting meditation, and then walking meditation, back sitting meditation, walking meditation, like that. Okay? Right, now we will do breathing meditation for 20 minutes. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so we did breathing meditation 2 sessions and walking meditation 2 sessions. Now I want to highlight in the Satipatthana Sutta, when the Buddha explained Anāpānasati and the walking meditation, he introduced the Buddha introduced the Vipassana part as well in the Satipatthana Sutta. Right? It is said, Atti kāyo tiva panassa sati paccupatthita bhavati. The mindfulness should be there to understand that there is a body. Atti kāya. Kāya means body. There is a body. We have to understand that with wisdom. Remember we learned about the extremes. The Buddha said in one of the suttas, if someone says that there is a self is one extreme. And if somebody says there is no self, there is another extreme. There is a self is an extreme, there is no self is another extreme. So we have to give up the extremes. If you think there is this person called me, there is me, there is an extreme. There is no me, there is no self. That is the other extreme. But the middle is Atti kāyo tiva panassa sati paccupatthita bhavati. The mindfulness should be there to understand that there is a body. So this body is impermanent. Okay? There is an impermanent body. But there is no permanent body. That is the middle. Have you heard of the 5 aggregates? Form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. The Buddha said, there is an impermanent form, but there is no permanent form. There is an impermanent feeling, but there is no permanent feeling. There is an impermanent perception, but there is no permanent perception. There are impermanent mental formations, but there are no permanent mental formations. There is an impermanent consciousness, but there is no permanent consciousness. So these 5 aggregates, you can think, you can understand that there are these 5 aggregates which are impermanent. Also, permanent aggregates do not exist. Only impermanent aggregates exist. So an impermanent body exists, but a permanent body does not exist. Right? That is the middle. Understanding the middle and not sticking to the middle. Okay? You remember the stitching? Stitching is the cradle, right? We should not stick to the middle. So, if you understand that there is an impermanent body, there is understanding the middle with wisdom. But if we think there is a self, we go to an extreme. If we think there is no self, we go to the other extreme. Do you understand? So, when we do this meditation, if you can understand now, when we are doing the breathing meditation, breath is something that is impermanent. Because An in-breath will not last long. It will go out. And an out-breath will not also last long. So, in-breath and out-breath, all the breaths are impermanent. And that's the body, right? So the Buddha said, this breath is a body. It's kind of a problem. Since we are not focusing on the extremes, we are only focusing on the breath, we can only mindfully see the breath. And the body in that moment is the breath. That is the body. That is impermanent. So if we can understand that this breath is impermanent, it does not last long, it does not exist forever, that wisdom is important to not stick to the middle. Right? So don't you think that we are so attached to this breath, right? Imagine when we breathe out, for some reason we cannot breathe in. What will happen? We will be shocked. We will try hard to breathe in, right? We will expect somebody else to take us to the hospital and give us oxygen. We are so attached to this breath. So that is because we don't, even though we have heard that all these material things are impermanent, we don't have so much faith in that. But if we can understand with wisdom that this breath is impermanent, a time will come that we will have to breathe our last breath. Right? That will be our last breath. We cannot breathe in or breathe out beyond that. That is the moment we die. So when we face that, we can face death mindfully if we have this understanding. So a lot of people in this world do not face death mindfully. They lose their senses. They lose their mindfulness. That danger is there for us. So we don't know when we will die. So recently, Sri Lanka experienced so much rain because of this cyclone. And I think about 500 people died. None of them expected death at that moment. There was a village which was completely buried under earth because of a landslide. All the people were sleeping. They had plans. They wanted to wake up the next day, and they wanted their children to go to school. They wanted to go to their jobs. They had plans. They needed to build their house. They needed to buy a car. They had all these plans, but unexpectedly, while they were sleeping, they had to face death. So we don't have any guarantee that we will live the next moment, right? So it is important to understand, to come to the present moment and develop wisdom so that we understand that even this present moment is impermanent and there is nothing we can hold on to. Okay? This wisdom is important. So when we do this meditation, we have two objectives. One is to calm our mind without going into the extremes. And the other thing is to develop insight, wisdom, samatha and vipassana. So both samatha and vipassana can be developed when we do this Anāpānasati meditation, breathing meditation. So we have about 15 minutes. Is there anything that you need to clarify before we finish?
You mentioned about self and non-self. The middle is the body. The non-self, we used to understand that it is anatta. So anatta is no body or no self.
So no self and non-self are different. There is a self is an extreme. There is no self is another extreme. Non-self is not no self. Non-self means there is an impermanent body that impermanent body is not me. It doesn't say that there is no self. Okay? This impermanent breath is not me. Because this breath goes out and it comes back. How can it be me? But that doesn't say that there is no self. Right? Anatta is one thing, Nati Atta is another thing. Nati Atta means no self. So Ati Atta, Nati Atta in Pali. Ati Atta means there is self. Nati Atta means there is no self. There are two extremes. Anatta means there is an impermanent body which is not me, which is non-self. Okay? So there is a sutta, famous sutta named Anāpānasati. Have you heard of it? Anāpānasati. In that sutta, the Buddha said, Rūpam Bhikkhave Anatta. Means this form is non-self. He didn't say that there is no self. This form is non-self. This feeling is non-self. This perception is non-self. These mental formations are non-self. This consciousness is non-self. He didn't say there is no self. Right? And the Buddha said, if these were self, then we should be able to control these five abilities. We should be able to control our breath. When we die, we should be able to use our force and command, I need to breathe again. But that doesn't work. Everybody has to die, right? So this breath is not under our control. So a time will come that we will lose control. And we will have to leave this body. And be born in another world according to our actions. So realizing that while doing this meditation, when we develop wisdom, we understand this breath is impermanent and this impermanent breath is not me, mine or myself. Okay? That wisdom is important to come to the middle and not stick in the middle. So the stitching will be unstitched. Okay? So we'll be able to escape from the cycle of rebirth. So this is the wisdom of the Buddha. So we should understand that the Buddha is supremely enlightened. We should have faith towards the Buddha. His teaching is well said, well explained. We should have faith towards the Dhamma. And those who practice this Dhamma are practicing the good path. So the Sangha should have faith in the Sangha. Right? There were Arahants at the time of the Buddha, like there was Sariputta, there was Moggallana, there was Mahakassapa. We should have respect and faith towards these Arahants, which will motivate us to practice this path. Right? Okay, so we have like 10 minutes. Maybe for like 5 minutes we can do metta meditation. Right? We will do metta meditation. That is to spread loving kindness to the entire universe. So we will think in all beings be well and happy. Be well and happy. Be well and happy. Okay, friends, so today we were able to practice breathing meditation and walking meditation. So we will now share all the merit we collected by doing this meritorious deed with all the heavenly beings, the deities. May all of them rejoice in our merit. May all of them be well and happy. May all of them protect us. May all the deities be able to realize the Four Noble Truths and escape from samsara. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And may this merit help all of us to practice this good Dhamma and realize the Four Noble Truths and escape from samsara. sound.